Hello, hello. Thank you for being here with us today.
Hello, yeah, we're super excited. One of Cherie's most asked questions is about relationships, how to navigate them, how to amend fights, and just try to live a happier, more loving life. So that's kind of why we started the Dear Cherie series, and that has just grown. So we wanted to go live and answer some of y'all's questions. There's only a few, but I'm sure that a lot of y'all will relate to that. Cherie, do you want to just quickly talk about your experience with working with couples and relationships?
Yeah, I love to work with couples. That's the foundation of life, is coupling and, creating those that come after. And one of the big things that I see today is that we have this independence, which is fabulous, but being able to dance together and ebb and flow with life seems to be a big problem these days, along with communication.
So let's just dive right in. Like I said, we got a couple questions, and I kind of organized them based on, just starting out in a relationship to as people are progressing with children. So, yeah, let's get started. So, Dear Cherie, I'm just starting to date again, and I'm having trouble trusting men because all of my past relationships have ended in cheating and a huge blowout. What are some red flags to watch out for early in a relationship to make sure it doesn't happen to me again? Which is a really good question, I feel like, for all the single ladies out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big egg to crack. I think firstly, I'd be paying attention to your potential partner's actions over their words.
Okay.
Right? Because words are cheap. Love bombing is a thing. So, what a person says and what they do are often two very different things. And as we're stepping into relationship, keep your eye on the action.
Okay. So right? Love bombing is like when they tell you all these great things, but just don't back it up.
If 2 weeks in, somebody's talking about being having children and getting married and how much they love you, that's honestly okay.
A red flag.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
right?
Are there any other red flags that people could look out for? Or that's kind of like a main determination of if they have action and their words line up, it's good.
Well, I mean, it's a start for sure. Yeah. And I think that, intimacy is something that has to be equal across the table, what that means, right? Because in our world today, often intimacy means sex. Yeah. And, it is interesting that we jump to the quote, most intimate action quickly. The first moment we meet someone.
Yeah.
Right?
That is true.
And for a woman, we're allowing them inside of our body when we may not allow them in our house.
Yeah.
Right? And
so maybe wait.
Well, it's kind of maybe it's important to understand who that person actually is before we allow them into our bodies.
Absolutely.
Or before we decide to enter their bodies.
Yeah.
Right? Because that mucks up everything, and people instantly feel this energetic connection that sometimes isn't sustainable.
Yeah. So maybe the friendship first would be a good start. So
I think it's important if you're really looking for somebody that you want to live a life with, that you want to grow old with, that who they are, that you have commonality in things you like to do and enjoyment, because
that's going to last.
Yeah, life's long, right?
Yeah.
And that attraction that is pheromonal, right? Is going to pass when children aren't on the table anymore.
Right.
So, a lot of relationships fall apart as the kids leave. Why is that? It's because they haven't invested time in enjoyment. What do we like to talk about? What do we like to do? What kind of entertainment do we enjoy? Yeah. And those are super important foundational pieces for a relationship.
Perfect. I love that. Well, we do have a question on the chat. How do I teach them to better handle rejection from dating or when their partner doesn't respond to them as much as they feel rejected?
So I think firstly, when you're dating, especially when you're first starting to date, right, having those expectations. I think often, like, you know, we are looking for the one and not looking at ferreting out the many, right? And recognizing, hey, I am amazing. And it's, you know, this person is gonna like gain a lot from being with me as much as I'm gonna gain from being with them.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Right? So I think, in the rejection piece, that comes from here and comes from the concept of being rejected rather than not being compatible.
Right.
Right? Because when we put those like, harsh words on that situation that really doesn't have a foundation yet, like it's like putting the love bombing words and inserting them in before it's time. Right?
Yeah.
Now, if you're in a long-term relationship and somebody has, infidelity is on the table and that's something that continually shows up for you, then that's a cycle for you that is important to break. And that can happen as well. Right? But that's a different than trying to fix a relationship that is already embroiled in,
Well, so someone that is in a relationship and maybe isn't getting enough attention and feels rejected, because that's kind of part of what it sounds like this question is, like, how can they not feel like they're being rejected if somebody, you know, maybe they are just taking a minute, or I don't know, like how can they determine whether it is like someone icing you out or being cold or rejecting versus just needing a minute? Like,
well, and I think that's true. I think we need to recognize people's love languages and recognize, are we a placeholder for this person? Or is this a real true relationship that we can invest in? Right? And if we're a placeholder, move on. Like, let them find another one.
Straight up.
Right? It's a lot easier. It's a lot better to be independent on your own than to be alone in a relationship.
Yeah. Right.
Right? And there's a lot of guys out there.
Yeah. Well, that kind of leads to this next question, so I'll go ahead and pop into that. Dear Cherie, I've been dating my boyfriend for about a year, and the honeymoon phase only lasted about 6 months. I'm not sure I want to continue because I liked how it was when we started, but I've already invested so much time and energy, and I do love him, but I don't know how to get that back and don't want to throw it away. So that's kind of that piece of like, sometimes maybe you get to a point where, you know, you feel like, is this the right move to continue on? And it's hard to like, just say, okay, I'm going to go be with somebody else. So what should they do? That's the question.
So here's what I'd say first is the honeymoon phase is illusionary. Everybody is on their best behavior, including you, right? Everybody has their date face on and like blah, 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 right?
They
and
look the best they can.
yeah, like, and what's real is they're going to get the you that wakes up in the morning without an ounce of makeup and their hair upside down.
Yeah.
Right? And you're getting that as well. So that part of life has to mesh. Now, what was the second part of it?
Yeah, just like they've already been invested for about a year and aren't sure whether to continue on or not because it's kind of like sunk costs. Like, I've already put this in, like, should I try to make it work or is not?
So in that, I would spend some energy on the friendship portion of it. Like, find some things and plan some things. Our life is busy. Like, every couple should have date night. I don't care if you have 15 kids, like, and need to go for a walk.
Date lunch even.
Yeah. Time where that is focused on you guys.
Yeah.
And intentionally putting energy into that conversation.
Yeah.
And finding that commonality, because often those relationships that burn out so quickly, it's because we're rushing in with the idea of a relationship and with our face painted and waiting, right, to be saved or something, right? It's not a fairy tale. Cohabitating is a humongous endeavor, right? And it takes that dance. And, you know, something I tell couples often is, hey, remember in the old days when people used to actually touch each other? right? And there were no phones at the table, right? And we danced, right? Couples moved the furniture out and would just break into dance. And they touched each other. And their bodies were connected energetically without, quote, sex being the motivator for that.
Or even the end goal,
Yeah, the end goal. Like, they just decide to dance. And with that ebb and flow, you're moving and following and leading without an agenda. You're just dancing, right? And enjoying and melding, right? Now, in relationships, we can stomp on each other's toes constantly, just as in that dance. And let me tell you, if you can dance with your partner, that's a huge step.
Yeah. And I think even as far as like the time commitment, it's really just deciding like how much time you want to continue giving to something that maybe isn't serving you. So like figuring out what that is and making that decision.
And taking yourself into account as well. Like, what am I responsible for where we are today? Where was my illusion?
Yeah. Right?
Because we have to be aware, because we're going to carry that illusion forward with us, right? So where's that illusion? And, is this person worth working with? Right? Because everybody that you meet is going to have things that are going to not be your things.
Sure.
Every person is going to have picadillos, right? Stop commenting on each other. Stop it.
What's a picadillo?
Like, they're going to have things that quirky
like
little
quirky
things.
Okay.
Quirky things that you're going to go, why are you doing that?
Okay.
Yeah. And you don't say that.
Yeah.
Don't say that. That commenting just is erosion.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Perfect. Okay, next question. Dear Cherie, I've been casually dating a woman for about 6 months. She says she's not sure about having kids, but I know that I want them. I really like her and I can see a future, but I don't know if it's real. I'm almost 40 and feel like I should make a decision. What should I do?
Well, I think having children is a foundational platform, right? Like, it's life changing. And if the woman is saying up front she does not want to have kids and she has kids for you, what does that mean, right? What does that mean for that child, right? To know that
So she's not sure. So maybe she needs to figure out.
That's hers to figure out, because he seems very clear that he wants them.
Yeah.
Right? And if she is unsure and can't commit to that with her heart, right? Because having children and being a mom is a big job and it never ends. It's lifetime, right?
That's true.
So I would think that is definitely worth hashing out and moving the illusion and the dream away from your eyes and actually looking at your partner.
Yeah. What is real?
What is real? And, if she is saying she is unsure, then I would receive that.
Okay. Well, these are clear answers. That's like, do this and...
Well, I would just receive that and see what compromise can come at the end of it. But convincing someone to have children...
Right. Isn't going to work.
Well, years later, there may be repercussions from that.
Right. All right. So this is our last question. Dear Cherie, I've got 3 kids and my husband is never around to help. He works all day long and is tired when he gets home, but I am too. I'm expected to take care of the house, the kids, the job, and still make him happy. I love my children, but sometimes it feels like I'm at the end of my rope and waiting for them to grow up so that I can have a life again. What should I do? What should I do?
Well, in that, I don't know how long this couple's been married, but it seems like a long time. So there's patterns set. Mm-hmm. And often that requires an outside perspective to kind of break that apart. That's, definitely a piece. I think sitting down and very clearly marking out like the duties in the house. One of my favorite writers that writes about relationship says, you know, that a partnership is like two pillars of a house, and each has to hold up their responsibilities for that house to stay intact, right? It has to hold up its part. And, you know, if you're, from your perspective, your husband is not helping, right? You know, is he doing the lawn? We have to see what are the things he's doing and recognize that first, and recognize, you know, what he is doing for you, and, you know, let that table be, you know, all the cards be on the table, and then sit down and really create, like, hey, I need for you to do this, that, and the other. And him to you. I need for you to do this, that, and the other. And collectively, you know, that would be the first thing I would try if you haven't tried that.
Yeah.
Right? And put it on your refrigerator so that it's not a fight. It's not a he said, she said. It's like making your budget.
Yeah.
Sit down and do that. Like,
and that can happen, kids or not. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I like
right?
that.
You know, and, right, your job is just as important as his. I think women have just by our makeup, more of an ability to like go from this to that when we choose.
Yeah.
Right? And, you know, so even recognizing that and creating a buffer for him to shift into the night responsibilities is a thought as well.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my, you know, favorite things that you talk about is like just figuring out the love language. It's something that everybody talks about, but it's like we don't actually like think about that from day to day. And like, yeah, if somebody is actually showing you love, but you're not seeing it or receiving it. So can you talk about that a little bit, and like maybe some of those love languages and how they might be different for people so that they can recognize it?
They really are, you know? I mean, some people are doers, right? So like, putting gas in your car, washing your car, running errands, like picking the kids up, like those kind of things are love language. I'm doing this to relieve this stress on this person, right? And maybe this person's love language is touchy-feely.
Yeah.
Right? That, again, when you're dating, these are things that we have to recognize. They're not just going to suddenly become touchy-feely because you say, please touch me.
Yeah.
That's not the kind of touch you want. Right? And maybe this touchy-feely, he's going, ooh, stop. Like, you're touching me so much, right? Those are super important things to really sit down. Like, you know, I know from a personal space, like, my husband was a doer. Like, and, you know, I wanted to talk. I wanted to talk about deep things.
Yeah.
Right? And that was a space that we never did navigate really to an understanding that our love languages were going like this.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's something that can be rectified, right? Like, say somebody's love language is help. I want to help, right? And maybe
there's a lot of helpers out there. Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe this person doesn't want help. Maybe they want to grow and be able to do it by themselves, and maybe fall down and make mistakes.
Yeah.
Right? That's another piece in our relationships, is that help rushes in and takes away experience. And we call that love. And that's not love. Right?
Dang, Cherie, that was a good one. That is so true. Okay. Well, yeah, I love that. And I feel like even just talking about it and being able to like, would you bring that up and say, like, I don't know, like, how would you?
I think I would say, like, if somebody's always rushing in to help you and you don't want help, say, you know, at a time when it's not happening, like just at a time at dinner, say, listen, I recognize that this is your love for me.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for all the help you give. And I think that it's important for me and my growth to have that experience and maybe make some mistakes, maybe fall down and skin up my knee, right? That is a necessary portion of life and our growth.
Perfect. I love that. Well, I am super excited that y'all had some questions for us, even on the live chat. Thank you, Kirsty Nicole, VIP. We love you for commenting on this. Feel free to interact with us, guys. We are going to have another one of these sometime in the next couple of weeks. We are going to Ireland soon, so it might be live from Ireland with your relationship questions, which would be pretty cool. Mm-hmm. But we just did want to offer, we do have a 10 impactful changes that you can make in your relationship today. I will put those, that link in the comments. And then we've also have a new offering from Cherie, by popular request, which is relationship coaching. So if you want to just quickly give a little blurb about that.
Well, I approach relationship coaching a little differently because I do feel that we each have our own pieces that we're bringing into that, and no one's perfect. So I like to meet with the couple together, maybe twice a month, and meet with each one individually so that we're all moving towards the same direction, right? And I like to have that all within my awareness, because if we're working towards a goal and this one's going this way and that one's going that way, right? Somebody needs to be there to go, hey, listen, it's your responsibility to keep up this side, and it's your responsibility to keep up this side. Yeah. And
because life happens, and it doesn't have to be a big traumatic event, but sometimes people just get off base and need help getting back on the right page.
Even like the kids going to school, or, kids, the empty nest piece where suddenly you're there with your partner and you're like, okay, how do we resurrect this? We've been, in kid mode for 18 years or whatever, right? So those are important things to navigate in a calm, controlled environment.
Well, thank y'all so much for joining us today. We'll have all of this available for y'all on the page following this. And do something today for your loved one, maybe. I don't know what's our advice for stepping out today?
Receive and say thank you.